there is one team I did not talk about there, but this is what we're going to open the show with. Daniel, under Rick Tocchet, the Vancouver Canucks are 16-9-3.
There's hope.
No, no,
We're
no, no.
coming back. No.
Okay, here's what it is. I see a team that, first off, right now they are even on points with the Blues, the same amount of games played. They are 2 points back of the Capitals. Vancouver are currently 24th, ninth last. They've completely destroyed their real lottery odds after, stop me if you've heard this before, an abysmal start to the year, firing their coach and then going on a hot streak. On top of that, after the deadline, of course, Brock Besser, Connor Garland, and co are all still Vancouver Canucks. Don't forget they bought the deadline. So I ask, what has actually changed from last year?
Nothing, because I think when Bruce Boudreau was fired or was let go, I think that should have signified, at least for me, that okay, this team is gonna go for the lottery. They're gonna look at how loaded the top five is in this draft, and they're just gonna continue the streak they're on because there's no reason to do anything else. And they proved me wrong once again because I do not understand the Philip Roenick acquisition. I don't understand holding on to so many guys. Like you mentioned Brock Besser. I think that's the guy that you. I think it's just for his own good. You should have traded him already at this point. The way he's been treated, the way he's been utilized on that team. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do there, trying to build there, because if it's about keeping talent, which I understand, why trade the draft picks?
What I want to know is the exact terms. There's been whispers about whatever was happening between them and Pittsburgh, whether it was JT Miller, whether it is they wanted draft picks, which it sounds like they wanted a young center, then makes you think, why were those two teams talking? Because those are not, those two teams are not 1+1 = 2, and it just doesn't seem to make sense. The pieces aren't there. So, like, I just look back and I think I'm concerned at Vancouver because it's Vancouver, and I can only go off of what I've seen of this. Again, for only so long can we say that this management group has only been there a year. Okay, it's nearly 2 seasons now. I am concerned that they're going to go into the offseason. They're going to do whatever they do and get rid of Tyler Myers' contract and all that type of stuff. And then I'm scared they're going to go into free agency. They're going to spend that money on someone. They're going to think because the West is just, especially the Pacific, is such a. I can't swear on this podcast, but my God, is it just a flaming trash bin right now? If they think that we're going to be healthy next year, we're going to have Thatcher Demko back, because obviously he's missed a lot of this year. I think he's back now, but he's missed a lot of time. If they think, hell, we can go for it, I don't know if they're going to do that, because obviously last year it was very vocal, even to all of this season. Jim Rutherford being very vocal about, we thought it was a fluke. We just had good goaltending. But then again, why did you go into the offseason and sign Ilya Mikheyev and keep all your players? I'm still not convinced about what direction Vancouver are going to go in. And I'm worried for them and their fans that they're just going to stay status quo in the offseason.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that the management's been there 2 years already. It's not like they're starting from the ground up. They already had the talent there. They just have to keep building on it in a positive way. And I don't see any indication of it. I think that they weren't where they were supposed to be, but I think in terms of stability, in terms of what did you want to establish there, they priced out their captain. That's not a good look at all. When they signed everybody else except him, they didn't add, I don't think, the right guys. I think Philip Roenick, he is a great defenseman when healthy, but that's just not a guy that you spend on when you're tail spinning.
You bought high on him too.
Yeah, which I don't know.
With the pick from the Horvat trade.
Yeah.
Why?
It's confusing to me too, because I'm trying to find some understanding of what they're doing, and I don't. My biggest thing right now is this might be the same pattern we see over and over again until Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson hit the unrestricted free agency market. And they say, listen, we want to win. We don't want to be the cornerstone guys if it doesn't mean that you're supporting us in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look at how good Patterson was this year, and Quinn Hughes as well has been fantastic. Did he? Wasn't it something like he was the quickest defenseman in history or something into like 200 assists or something this year? Him and Patterson have been outstanding this year, really, and obviously past couple of years there were a lot of questions about if Elias Patterson was truly going to be this cornerstone player. It sounds crazy to say after this season, but there was that. Oh, is he really going to be a center long term? Those were questions being asked, and again, it was that rookie season between Hughes and Makar was always like, who's the better player? And then Makar goes and he has that great year winning the cup in the Norris last year at the Conn Smythe, and then Patterson just sorry no, and then Hughes just wasting away in Vancouver, and it's just sort of like I can't help but think those guys think of like Hughes looks at the success of this player he's been tied to and sees, I'm just kind of stuck here wasting away on a middling team. Patterson has to be thinking about his long term, and it's not like it hasn't been discussed in Vancouver media either about how long how he feels about everything, despite whatever his agent may say publicly. I'm gonna have my own questions about that. And then, I mean, and then there's the Demko question because it's not for no reason that Elliot Freeman was talking about the possibility of him getting traded. It's just the question continues to be, what are they going to do? Because I'm just so confused and concerned about what they think of themselves internally.
Mhm.
I hate to say it, but it's like story to keep an eye on. But I'm just concerned because they beat, I forget who was it, Chicago the other day, and then this thing of their record under talk it came out there, and I thought we could talk about it. But I'm concerned. We had a good month not talking about the Canucks. We had to bring it back. We had to.
Yeah, I think so because they're one of the most confusing teams I've ever looked at. I like to mention also these two guys that have created that cornerstone, the guys who are doing their best, Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson. I like that also, like, I guess recall that these guys were kind of gifted to them in a way. They dropped in the draft and then they developed pretty quickly for Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that if you're gonna keep doing this to the team, not really heading in one direction or not having a clear vision of what you want to do, again, you're taking that for granted. The fact that they dropped for you in the draft.
And here's one more thing, and the big question is because as much as we criticize Alvin and Rutherford, is what is this stretch going to mean to Mr. Francesco Aquilini, the owner? Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's also been talked about how involved is he really, and
Yeah.
we'll see, we'll see. Always a headline or two in Vancouver, and always content for us to talk about. So I respect that about the Canucks. At least they always have a little bit.
Always something, yeah.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, we can do this weekly, but I like the big stories on these
Mhm.
things. I predict they're gonna pick 11th this year.